Hello and welcome to The Night Feed. I'm your host, Charlotte, here to bring you some comfort, camaraderie, and conversation and keep you company during, let's face it, one of the toughest parts of being a new parent, The Night Feed. Tonight's unpaid sponsor is those deplorable, teeny tiny plastic tags on every single item of baby clothing ever. How much of a joke are they? Can you tell I've been in a tangle with about 300 of them this morning? I mean, I get the need to keep the clothes together, but at this point, I'd rather they just bundle them up in a brown paper bag, no tags, because you snap them off and they're instantly lost, invisible, or in the wrong hands, not to mention they're a choking hazard. So, can we just ban them, please? How are we all? I hope you're all well. Thank you for the lovely messages you sent following my announcement last week that we're having a baby boy. It's so kind of you, and it really, really means a lot. Now I have more of a bump. My girls are really curious about the baby and what he's going to be like, and they both know it's a boy. And it's the sweetest thing that they understand. And this morning in bed, I looked down and they each had a little hand on my bump. And it was just the best feeling looking at that. But the funniest was when they were talking about the baby arriving. Obviously, they don't understand any of that. They're only 2 and 3. And I've tried to keep this as simple as possible to remove the need for further questioning. So I said, when the baby's ready, Mummy and Daddy will go to the hospital and he will come out and we'll be so excited to meet you. And my youngest just chimed up, out of your mouth? Oh gosh, it made me laugh. The innocence, I love it. I've just been reading this post actually that made me laugh. And it says, people with good sleepers, do you lie in groups? This person says, I really make an effort to chat with mums at baby groups, especially the new ones that join, as it's very scary coming into those groups for the first time. I find most of the conversation to be around poor sleep overnight and daytime naps, of course. I am incredibly lucky with my little one. She goes down for the day and naps fairly easily. Plus, she sleeps like a trooper most nights with only 1 to 2 quick wake ups. When these conversations happen, I just nod along and say, yeah, it sucks, doesn't it? So hard when they're like that. But I'm literally barefaced lying to these women. I just don't want to be that one mum going, nah, my baby actually sleeps great. Does anyone else tell little white lies like this to other mums? And this answer, I can always tell the ones with good sleepers if they never say anything. Lol. So true. The next person says, as a parent to 2 awful sleepers, I don't care if your child sleeps well. Awesome for you, truly. But please don't try to give me advice about how I could make mine sleep. I've heard it, I've tried it, and my kids just don't want to sleep. And then this comment sent me, someone's put, yes, I swear to God, if someone tells me to put on a sound machine one more time, I'll riot. As someone who has a good sleeper and an absolutely shitty sleeper, babies are all different. And what works for your baby may not work for mine. Yeah, that's true. It's just crazy how sleep is the biggest battle you have to fight, isn't it? And this person said, here, everyone that stays silent has great sleepers. Oh, I think it's just in our mum instinct, isn't it? Like we just want to comfort each other. And I think we can all at different times self-depreciate a little bit to kind of give other mums comfort and be like, yeah, I completely get what you're going through, because you want to be there for each other. And no one really wants to hear my baby slept through 12 hours a night since they were born, because it's like, well, good for you, but mine don't. But yeah, it just made me laugh, that article, that if someone else tells me to put a sound machine on, I'll riot. And then this other article, actually, I think I'll share because some of the advice was quite funny. So it's the best and worst advice new millennial parents have ever been given. So let's go through some of them. Here we go. Number 1, the worst. Sleep when the baby sleeps. Am I supposed to shower when the baby showers and cook when the baby cooks? Absolutely. I mean, that's the age-old one, isn't it? And I remember saying that to a friend. She was really, really struggling with sleep and really, really struggling in the day. And I said, I just remember trying to be helpful and said, is there any way, like, when he naps, you could maybe nap? And as soon as I sent that message, I was like, are you an idiot? How many times will she have been told that by family, by other friends? We all know that advice, sleep when the baby sleeps, but it's near on impossible. I found it near on impossible, to be honest, in the day, personally. As soon as the baby napped, it was like, this is me time. And I can either put my feet up and get a brew, or I will clean the kitchen. But if you can sleep when the baby sleeps, great for you, because we need sleep, don't we? It's the biggest thing. It's the biggest problem we have as new mums. This next one is the best advice this person was given. My sister-in-law had just given her 12-year-old a phone. She later regretted giving it to her at that age. Her advice when I was pregnant was to never do something unless you're ready for that to be the new norm, because you can't take something back. It has been indispensable advice since having our son. I really love that one, and it's so true. The minute you give them something, it becomes the new norm. I remember it with the iPad, and we do try not to give them the iPad too much, but now they know it's a thing. It's like, I just want to play on that game on the iPad. We limit it. We are more kind of TV than screen, I would say, but like this person said, it's become a norm. They know it exists. If they never knew it existed, we wouldn't have that problem. So yeah, I really like that one. Let's find another one. Worst, my stepmother suggested that I move into a furnished apartment with my 3, 6, and 8-year-olds. I explained that wouldn't work with the kids, and she told me it was time to teach them to be responsible. I tried to explain that isn't how it works with toddlers. So true. Oh, just don't go near that cream couch with that black biro, please. This is another best advice. I was worrying about how soon my daughter could pick up / turn her head back when she was an infant. My mum stopped and asked me one day, have you ever seen a kindergartner who can't hold their head up, walk or talk, etc.? That was a game changer. I relaxed big time about that when my daughter was hitting their milestones. Yeah, every child's different. Absolutely. Milestones are the ones that get in our head the most, I think. Where's another best one? Oh, here we go. Best. Toddlers can't act right if they don't feel right. Address their feelings first and then work on their behaviour. It works wonders for helping with meltdowns and toddler stubbornness. I can really relate to this one actually at the moment. Both of mine are, well, they're 2 and almost 4, and they're going through a little bit of, I don't know, I don't want to say like tantrums, but they're very, they're both girls and they're very determined. So if they want to do something, they really want to do it. And we've had a few meltdowns lately with my oldest, and I've just, when she's really can't stress what she wants, I've just said, I think you need a hug. And she's been coming to me and giving me a hug, and that has really regulated her emotions. And this isn't when she's naughty. When she's naughty, I tell her. But when she's clearly in a bit of a 2 and 8 and she's trying to like tell me something or get something, she's frustrated, I just said, looks like you need a hug. And she just comes over to me and will sit on my knee and hug me. And that gives her a minute to really regulate her emotions. And she can sit there then and she can communicate with me rather than being in a tiz, crying and trying to tell me what she wants when she can't. So I completely agree with that. Toddlers can't act right if they don't feel right. So addressing their emotions before we have the challenge of what is it that you want really works, definitely. Here's another worst advice. Anytime they say, well, back in my day, babies slept on their stomach, babies used bumpers in cribs, etc. And it's worse when it's followed with, and you survived. Yes, but now we have much more research, and we follow the latest guidelines and advice from doctors. Science continues to advance, and the more we learn, that is purpose. Yeah, absolutely. No, it's true, isn't it? I love that one. Well, you survived. This is another best. Be willing to change your expectations. It doesn't mean that you failed. Have things that you value, but don't get so bogged down by what you thought parenting would look like that you fail to enjoy the reality, even in those moments that really, really, really suck. Yeah, completely. I think everybody as a parent can say, I thought this would go one way and it went a different way. And it's important not to blame yourself or not to bog yourself down or not to get stressed about it. Every child and baby is completely different. And we're all trying our best. We're all trying to do this motherhood thing. And, it's important to be kind to yourself and know that everyone's different. Let's have another one. Here we go. Here's another worst. My mum told me many times when my son was 6 weeks old, just let him cry. You're being too soft. I let it slide for a while until she told me I would ruin him. She knew my son had a serious brain condition and his first brain surgery at 11 days old. Oh my gosh. I informed her again that his neurologist told us we weren't allowed to let him cry for too long because the increased pressure could cause more pain. Oh my goodness me, poor thing. Oh my goodness, absolutely right to put your foot down with that one. That's so sad, isn't it? Oh my goodness. Yeah, I think people think they're helping with this advice and it's just not. It's like, do you not think we've thought of that? Do you not think we've had this conversation? Of course, your gut as their mum and father's gut is just so important. And like I always say on this podcast, any other advice that doesn't fit the bill is just noise. And yeah, stick to your guns, mums. Here's another best. Don't force kids to eat. Instead of stressing about their intake in a meal, look at what they eat over a course of a week. They might only eat pasta one meal, but they'll eat fruit and veggies another. I really like this one. And we had the lovely Laura on a few weeks ago talking about nutrition and feeding and weaning, which was a really interesting episode if you skip back a few. And she actually said it is important not to stress because babies and toddlers are very good at regulating what they eat and understanding their stomachs. Like we're not as adults. I'm not. We can eat when something tastes good, we'll carry on eating, won't we? But toddlers and babies, as she was saying, can regulate their stomach and how full they're feeling, and they understand that. So it's so true. Some nights my girls will eat so much, and other nights they'll have a few bites. And I was always of the mindset, well, they can't go to bed with just a few bites. They need to eat something else. But then when I've heard that and I've thought about it and reflected a little bit, it's like, yeah, actually, when they're hungry, they eat. They really do eat. So it's important not to, I suppose, inflict our own feelings around food on them when they are so capable of understanding how much they need. Obviously, that doesn't work if your child has severe problems with eating. That's completely different. But if your children are healthy and they normally eat well, the odd meal where they don't eat too much, it's important not to stress because it's almost like them telling you, I'm not that hungry tonight. My girls have been ill this past week and their food and their eating's been so up and down. And I've just kind of listened to them and let them go with the flow in terms of what they eat. So yeah, I like that one as well. Right, shall we get onto the emails? Please keep them coming in. I do respond to all of them and I love hearing from you. My email address is thenightfeedpodcast@gmail.com. This one is called Going Out After Sleep Time. Hi Charlotte, loving the podcast. It's been such a comfort during the first few months. What I want to know is how do you go out past bedtime with the babies? Is that something you do? How do you make it work with routines, etc.? We don't often take them out past bedtime, if I'm completely honest, unless it's a special occasion or I don't know. Yeah, something we've had planned for a while. I suppose on a holiday we take the pram, and if they fall asleep out and about in the pram of an evening, fine. And I'm very loose around routine when it comes to holiday and when it comes to going out past bedtime. I don't stress about it. Say if you wanted to go for a meal at 7, I would probably feed my kids at home prior to that and then take snacks with us if we have to eat at 7 for any reason. I think that's how I would manage that. And another thing I would do if I was taking them out post bedtime is either have the pajamas with me or have them dressed in the pajamas so that they can fall asleep in the car and go down. And I do that when I go to my mum and dad's because I always end up staying late anyway. We just get chatting, and they only live like 20 minutes, half an hour away. So I'll always take the pajamas and we change them. Sometimes we bath them there, we get them ready for bed, and I'd say 9 times out of 10 they fall asleep in the car, but not always. Maybe 5 times out of 10 they'll fall asleep in the car and we'll carry them up. The other times we get home, they're ready for bed, we take them up, and they generally go down quite quick because it's past bedtime. But yeah, that's my tips, is take the pajamas so that you don't have to do the whole bedtime routine when you get back late, because they almost get a second wind then, I find, if you've got to change them and bath them, and they can kind of wake themselves up in my experience. So having them in the car in their pajamas ready for bed, bring them up to bed and keep it quiet and calm. That's how I would do it. I think if you've got a newborn, it's slightly different, or a very young baby, because for me, I just kind of worked around their schedule. So when you're out with them, they kind of sleep anyway, or they breastfeed, or they bottle feed, however you feed them. They do that while you're out and about anyway. So yeah, it's more toddlers, I think, you have to be prepared for. So that's my advice. Yeah, I hope that helps. Next email is how to stop breastfeeding. Hi, Charlotte. My little one is now 12 months and I'm ready to stop breastfeeding, but I don't know how. I'm also really worried that she'll kick up a huge fuss and it will make bed and nap time super difficult. Any advice would be hugely appreciated. Been there. And I was also around the 12-month mark with both of mine. I know exactly how you feel in terms of them kicking up a fuss, because it feels like they only want the breast milk, and that's especially if your baby hasn't taken a bottle yet. My two started to have a bottle when they were weaned, so I would put a bit of water in a bottle for them when they were 6 months plus, to get them used to having something else, because prior to that they wouldn't really take it. And I think when you get to that point where you're ready to give up breastfeeding, it's like, oh my God, but what if they just want it forever and they can't live without it? And oh my God, and you work yourself up. I remember doing it with my first specifically. And I was pregnant with my second when I was weaning, breastfeeding my first. And I probably didn't do what's recommended. Now, I think the recommended advice with breastfeeding is drop the feeds gradually. So over the course of a week or two, maybe, I don't know, maybe a bit longer, and drop the feeds so that your boobs adapt. But with my first, because I was pregnant, my milk was beginning to deplete anyway. And what we did was we left her at my mum and dad's for the night. It was the first time I've been away from her overnight. I was like worried, but she's so close with my mum and dad. It wasn't that. It was more like, what's she going to do without the boob if she wakes in the night? Oh my God. And I'd given my mum a bottle. I don't know if we'd maybe tried a bit of formula, but I think she just wanted the water from a bottle, to be honest. And the next day we came back and she just wasn't interested. This was later on in the afternoon and I was ready to feed her if she needed it. Luckily, my boobs weren't like ready to explode because I was pregnant, and I didn't realise how much of an impact that had on my milk declining and depleting. So she just didn't come to me, and I thought, I'm ready to stop. She's clearly not jumping on me right now to get to them, so I just left it there. And yeah, that was how I stopped with my first. So if you have family that can take the baby overnight, or maybe you could leave baby with your partner and sleep separately if the night wakings is something you do a lot, to kind of move away from the breastfeeding, then I would advise that. Word of warning, with my second, I did the same thing. So we left her with my mum and dad for a night, and I wasn't pregnant this time round. So going cold turkey is painful, and that is not something I would advise. I gave her a last feed, we left, and my boobs gradually just started to fill, obviously. I took my pump with me and I expressed, but my pump, something happened with the pump. It was really faulty. And I just had to kind of self-express into the sink. It was really painful. Yeah, it was not great. I don't know if I got mastitis. And they had her for 2 nights this time, because I remember getting back and they were like, oh, we'll keep her a bit longer. And I just thought, you're going to have to persevere now. I tried to get my pump working again. I think I just pushed through, and I got those, those like not actual cabbages, but cabbages do help with mastitis, apparently. I got those, they're like cabbage shaped breast pads that you can put in the freezer or you can heat up. And I think it's heat is best for when your boobs are engorged. And I was just putting them on constantly for like 2 days. And the milk did eventually deplete and it did go away and it was absolutely fine. But a healthcare professional would not recommend stopping cold turkey. So my advice to you, if you aren't currently pregnant, would be to drop the feeds gradually. I think that's the best way. Hope that helps. Next tonight is what's trending. And last week, TV personality Megan McKenna, and so she's like, I think she was on a reality TV show in the UK, and she's a singer, I think. She's had a baby. She's got a 4-month-old, and she put a video on TikTok showing herself on a self-soothing journey with a baby. So it was like night 1, we're going to try and let him get to sleep on his own because he's 4 months and usually settles on me, but we want to try and change that and get him to understand self-soothing before it's too late, she said. So she has a video of her going into the room, putting the baby down, and then walking out, and you can hear the baby crying. And she's obviously like, oh, I hate hearing him cry, but this is what we want to do. And we're going to, try and get him to get to sleep himself. And as you can imagine, the hounding this woman got for this video. I mean, I think when you post a video like that, especially on sleep training, you are putting yourself into the frying pan a little bit, because it is one of, if not the most divisive topic online for mums. I think it completely splits the mum internet. And both sides have got reasons. I've spoken about this on my podcast before. Eventually in the video, the baby falls asleep and self-soothes, and she's obviously like, oh my goodness, he's fell asleep on his own, I can't believe it, like this has never happened. And the comments were like, half were saying, oh, I could never do that, you should enjoy the baby snuggles while they're young, he's cried himself to sleep, he needs you. The other half were saying, babies need to learn how to self-settle, it doesn't harm them, and you'll thank yourself further down the line. But it's just such a heated topic. And I think she posted another video saying, like, thanks to all the perfect mums out there for all the hate. And it obviously caused a storm. And I don't know if she knew that would be the case before posting it. But anything around sleep training is going to divide people that watch that video completely. Do you know what? I'd actually like to have 2 people come on to the podcast and chat about this. I think it would be really interesting to have someone who's pro self-soothing / sleep training and who's against it. Maybe psychologists, maybe baby sleep experts, mums who've done it and mums who haven't done it. I would really like to hear from you, because you do sometimes, I think it splits people, because a lot of people think if you sleep train, you have a perfect sleeper. And if you don't sleep train, you have a bad sleeper. And I don't think that's always the case. I think if you have routine, you can still have a good sleeper without sleep training. But the getting them to fall asleep on their own does, I think, require some level of sleep training. I've spoke about this before. My 2.5-year-old still goes to sleep on me. And that is something that we need to get on top of. Not on top of, I mean, I don't mind it. I do love it. Some nights it can take a while to get her to sleep. but it's not something that I'm against really. But with this baby coming, it is something we're looking to address and trying to get her into a routine where she's happy to go to bed in her bed and fall asleep in her bed, because she does wake in the night still and need that comfort because, well, she's used to being in my arms when she falls asleep. So it is something that we are coming up against a little bit, and I'd love to have some experts come on really and share their knowledge and their expertise on the pros and cons of sleep training. I think it'd be helpful, especially for brand new mums who are thinking about it or not thinking about it, and know nothing against either side of the coin. Everyone's got their own personal preference, but it would be really interesting. So if that's you and you have knowledge on this and you have something you want to share on this, let me know. Thenightfeedpodcast at gmail.com. Tonight's self-care suggestion is to get outside every day for some fresh air. I keep seeing this Mel Robbins routine, and part of it is to get outside as soon as you wake up in the morning for a walk, to get your face in the sunlight. Not that we get any of that in Manchester, but yeah, to be in the sunlight, to get out in the fresh air. And yeah, it's meant to do your body an amazing amount of good, just starting your day that way. Now, obviously, that's easier said than done when you've got a baby or a toddler, but it's well worth making an effort, I think, to get out every day. Now, I do because of having the nursery run. So every morning and lunchtime, we go and pick up my eldest, which is great. It's only a 10-minute walk. It's not very far. But I do feel the benefits of getting up and out and getting in that fresh air. And my girls have been ill this week and we were going a bit stir crazy. So I had some vintage parcels to collect. And I was like, right, we'll go into the magic lockers. Walked about 10 minutes with the pram and got to the collection lockers. And I said, right, mummy needs to put this code in and then one of the doors will pop open. Which one do you think it will be? And they absolutely loved it, bless them. Just shows how cooped up we've been. But yeah, getting outside, whether it's just a collection you've got to make or you need to nip to the shop or you just want to go to the park with the pram, I think it does us all good just being in fresh air, and it'll do the baby good as well. Finally, to finish on a quote I wrote. She's gone now, the newborn who fits so perfectly on my chest with her soft wrinkled feet and her scrunched little face, her sleepy sighs. She's gone now, the baby who took her first unsteady steps towards me, arms outstretched, trusting I'd catch her hair in those tiny pigtails, her snack sticky hands reaching for me. She's gone now, the toddler who ran to me with bruised knees and wild curls flying behind her. The one who crashed into my arms like they were the safest place on earth. Her chubby cheeks, her whispered mama in the sweetest sound in the world. Motherhood is the slowest kind of love and heartbreak. Watching them grow, knowing every fleeting version of them will disappear before you're ready. And it aches. Oh, how it aches. But motherhood is also a gift. With every goodbye, there's a new hello. A new version of them standing before you, ready to be loved, ready to show you who they're becoming. It's a journey of holding on, letting go, and holding on again. A constant rhythm of love and loss, heartbreak and joy. As they grow, so do we. Thanks for listening tonight. I hope you've enjoyed this episode. And if you have, it'd be great if you could leave me a review wherever you listen. And yeah, tell another new mum about it. It would really help me to grow the podcast and get out there to new mums. And I wish you all a peaceful, restful night ahead. Good night.